recorded. All right. Hey, welcome everybody to 2023 and the first book club that we are doing. Just kind of a background because I see a lot of new faces here, along with people that I see regularly over the past years, some of them. We are doing this book club for the first time. Well, we've done a book club, but it's only been inside of our body coaching team. So I'm used to meeting at this hour, like Tuesdays, 12 o'clock is what has always been called our team call or our team training, where we do Q&As and we learn how to best help our clients and help our coaches grow their business. And we had a book club once, and I'm going to shout out Laura on here all the way from Hawaii. She's like, we got to do a book club again. We got to do a book club again. We probably did one late summer last year inside of our team. And it was outside of this, this team call time. We just did it separately. And I was like, yeah, we need to. And so this year, just a little backstory with our coaches. We have another team training weekly on Tuesday nights from incredible leaders. So I'm like, we don't need to be like training on the technical stuff to build our business twice a week and on the same day. So let's focus on growing each other. And that's part of the mission of our team is to continually grow ourselves and empower others to grow into their full potential. So what better way to do that than reading a book together? So I'm glad that you guys are here. So that's why we're doing this. We do have the intention. So I need some accountability. We do have the intention to do new books all year long. So when we finish this one in 6 weeks, as we are getting close to finishing it, 5 weeks from now, we need to be picking the next book for those that want to continue on. So that's the intention. Hold me accountable. If we get towards the end and we haven't discussed what the next book is, make sure to let me know or remind me. So I'll do my best to keep that in mind, but I need some accountability as well. So everybody's muted right now just because when everybody hops on, there's a lot of background. But what I want you guys to know, this is just going to be an open discussion to share ideas, share takeaways. So feel free at any time to unmute and share. The way that I kind of want to structure this is like, I'll share something that I took away, and then I just want to pass it over, and don't be shy. Just share something that you learned or something that really stood out to you, or ask questions, and we're all here to help each other grow and get better. So I don't know about you guys, the first 50 pages, like I was glancing through this morning because I finished it last night, but every page I have like whole blocks of paragraphs, like a square around the whole paragraph and then underlined a whole bunch of stuff. So I'm just going to share one thing. There's so many things I want to share, but this is supposed to be for all of us. So I'm going to, on page 9, right towards the beginning, the title of the section was called My Search for a Better Way. And I'm picking this one because I wrote a little question at the top along with my, what I outlined. And it said, Brendan goes on to share that, after his accident, he says, my heart had been broken. Oh, this is when he broke up with his girlfriend, whatnot. He had his accident. And he's like, my heart had been broken, yes, but I still wanted to love. I felt I was given a second chance, so I wanted to make it matter, to make a difference. So it is after he had his accident. And he says, live, love, matter. That became my mantra. And that's when I super highlighted, I decided to change. And so I wrote at the top, like, what is my mantra? And then made the little note, like that mantra that he came up with, what made him change. And then he goes on to say, that's when I started looking for answers to live a more charged, connected, and contributing life. And so I want to be honest with you guys, I don't have a complete mantra right now for myself. I'm adopting Brendan's until I can really fully discover what mine is. So I am as well I'm gonna live, love, and matter. And I think all of us here can agree, like, we want to live life to our fullest. At the end of our lives, we want to feel like what we did with our lives mattered to our kids, to the people around us, and we want to love. So I think I really want to adopt that mindset. And then just a couple pages later, and then I'll wrap this up, I swear, because I could go through like each page and be like, this is what I like, this is what I like. And you guys could probably do that too. But I've been a coach with Body for 12 years. It's been my full-time job for 11 years. And I feel extremely grateful for that every day that I get to wake up and do what I love. And there's a part where he says, what's achievable is not always what's important. So as I was setting New Year's goals and resolutions, things I wanted to accomplish this year, that's what we'll call it. There were some big goals on there. And like I wrote them down, and they're goals inside of our company, like things that you could accomplish. And so I really had to question what's achievable is not always what's most important. And so he goes on to say, you have a lot of things that you can do. And so the central question shifts from how do I achieve more? How would I like to live? And so I really based a lot of my goals this year off of how do I want to live? And so I didn't back away from some of the goals that I want to accomplish for my business and for our income, but I put more emphasis on how I want to live. So for example, some of those goals are, I'm very introverted and not very social at all. Like I don't want to say I don't have friends, but I don't hang out with friends. Like I'm at my house all day long. I mean, I'm going on a ski trip with some great friends the end of this month, but like, I'm not like hanging out with friends in person. So one of my things is I want to be more social. Like I want to hang out with people in my town, in my city. And I have some of those people, but I'm going to be intentional about hanging out and spending time with those. I want to show up. I don't know about you, those of you that might be parents. I have been becoming more and more less patient. I've always been known as the most patient person. And my kids range from 16 to 7. And I am losing my patience a lot of days. And so one of my goals for this year is to be more intentional about controlling my reactions to those around me and being more patient. So it's kind of more of a vision of my life of how I want my life to look like versus like, I want to earn X amount of dollars, or I want to achieve this or be recognized for this in my business. I want to be remembered as someone that's patient. I want to be remembered as someone who's a good friend and so forth. So those are some of the biggest takeaways I got from the very beginning of this. So I'll stop talking. I keep saying I'll stop talking, but I'm stop talking for real. Whoever wants to share next, just unmute and I want you to share. And give me 1 second. I got some loud music outside of my.
For me, my takeaway was that these high performance habits, they aren't like, I guess, stuck to a certain type of person and they can be learned. So I like how he mentions that there's hope. Like, I think it's on page 11. Well, it says, there's hope, for people who aren't high performers now, because all you have to do is learn the habits, and anyone can do that as long as they're dedicated to it. So that's something that really encouraged me and helped me to realize, like, hey, I may not have these now, but I can work on them and I can become what I need to be in order to grow, serve, and lead. So I really like that. That was my favorite takeaway.
I love that. Anybody want to piggyback off of that and then share?
I can't piggyback, but I'll share.
Awesome, PJ.
For me, it was 2 things that stuck out. It was, you simply can't beat the norms if you've driven yourself into the ground. And to succeed, always remember that the main thing is to keep the main thing the main thing. And for me, they get kind of connected because I know what my main thing is, but as unexpected things happen and life happens around you, like I'll drive myself into the ground and stay up to do something for work or for people that need me. But for myself, I'll be like, I'm just tired and I need to rest because I'm just get so stuck in my own mind. I think sometimes I get, what was that saying? When you overthink and you end up procrastinating, but it sounds a lot catchier when people say it.
Analysis paralysis.
Exactly. Thank you so much. So I feel like my main thing needs to be, and I know in my mind, I know my main thing needs to be my main thing, or I'm not going to be good to anybody else. And I will still be in the same place when all these other things around me resolve. So I need to be able to be at peace with really putting myself first and managing, the things that I maybe think that only, I can do that can be done another way.
I love that. Thank you. I think we can all relate to that. And also what Cynthia was sharing as well. A lot of times as I was listening to some of the stuff, they were like, people can have the belief like, I'm not from this background, or I have this childhood trauma, or all these different things. But in all of the studies that have been done, it's showing that no, these aren't anything with personality or background. It's 6 specific habits that you can create that will change that. So PJ, I don't think you're alone when you say you do everything for everybody else and then don't give yourself time or take care of yourself. I had to learn that, just a personal experience. I had to learn that the hard way back in 2016. We had led a top team with our company and our business to the very top. I was trying to build like a YouTube vlog of our family. I was doing a church calling. Like I was doing all of these things, working on my own business and leading a team. And I played in a band, and we were producing an album and playing shows on the weekends. And like I was doing everything except for sleeping. And I was very stressed. And like I had to have an aha moment where like I'd gone skydiving at an event, or we were at a leadership event, and I went skydiving with Gabby. It was one of her bucket list things. And the whole way, it was exhilarating and fun. But the whole way down, I had the sharpest pain in my head. I felt like my head was going to explode. And I got to the bottom, and we're like hugging, and that was awesome. And I was like, man, did your head hurt so bad? She's like, no. And I was like, oh. And the next day I had the sharpest pain, and I blacked out in the shower at like 5 a.m., just passed out while Gabby was asleep and was just laying unconscious in the shower. And so I went and had scans. I was like afraid I had an aneurysm or something. And the doctors are asking me all these questions. They're like, you stressed out? And I'm like, are you stressed? And I'm like, no, I'm not stressed. Like I'm the happiest I've ever been. I have a great business, great family, playing in a band, like all my dreams. Like I'm not, but it turns out after all the scans, I had to have a real conversation with him and be like, I am stressed out. Like I'm doing all of these things. And so I had to let some things go that I was doing for other people. And that's when I took on a massive amount of self, like taking time for taking care of myself, or call it self-love. Like I started meditating daily, like taking hot Epsom baths, like just taking time for myself and letting things go that didn't align with who I wanted to be or my goals. So that's when I stopped playing music. Like my end goal in life is not to be playing in bars every weekend and being surrounded with that type of atmosphere. So I let things go that didn't align with my life vision and goals, and had to get clarity on that and learn to take care of myself first. So one thing, like this is my full-time job, coaching people. And so this is just a little tip about my life. And I know some people have jobs, you got to get right to work and start working, but you can do it in smaller ways as you begin to learn this. Like I don't answer one message or pick up my phone to do a text or see a notification or answer anything from anybody on any platform, email, Facebook, Instagram, anywhere until 10 a.m. Like I'm up for like 4.5 hours before I ever do that. And I'm working out, I'm reading, listening to podcasts, reading my scriptures in the sauna or in a hot Epsom. Like I'm doing me. And I know everybody doesn't have that. I want to make sure you guys know that I understand that not everybody has that ability, because I worked 5 to 5 for almost 5 years straight, like 5 a.m. to 5 p.m. But you can do it in smaller ways. Take 5 minutes and meditate. When you get home from work, take 5 minutes in the car and just reset yourself, realign yourself before you step out again. And there's ways for everybody to do that. So sorry, I went on again. Anybody else share?
I really liked that all of this was fact-based. if you're in some kind of coaching, or I'm an advocate for a different direct sales company, they tell you to just emotionally disconnect from this and emotionally disconnect from that. For some of us, you can't emotionally disconnect. It's difficult. So to have read that, he never once said you have to emotionally disconnect from the outcome. Here are the habits to help your personality make these things possible. So I can't wait till it goes ahead. I almost started to read ahead because I got so excited about, let's learn habits and not forget about who you are. Don't try to change your personality. Just develop new habits around your personality. So I was amped to know that a lot of this was fact-based and not emotion-based, because I'm tired of people telling me to put my emotions away.
Yeah.
So it
People
makes
say,
us good at what we do.
yeah, people say you might hear people say put your emotions away, or man up for the guys, or any amount of things like that. These are like real habits that you can create.
Yeah, they've tested all kinds of people from all kinds of life that are all high performers. So it makes so many things possible for us common folk.
Yeah, I love that. Thank you, Stephanie. Who else wants to share?
Hey guys, what's going on?
Oh,
Ladies first, go ahead.
Oh, thanks.
You calling me lady? I'm honored.
I don't know who's up.
Laura, go ahead.
Okay. I'll just piggyback on what you said, Scotty. I really liked page 19 where it says high performers work hard not because of money, but because of something called necessity, which you will soon learn about. They are not in it for the trophies or accolades or bonuses. They're in it for the meaning. And then down at the bottom, we must see beyond what comes naturally to us and develop into what we must be in order to grow, serve, and lead. I was in kind of a similar space in 2019. I had been a massage therapist for 23 years. It was all about the money at that point. It wasn't about what I was doing, and there was no longer any meaning for my life in that career. So I took a hard course correct. I got a tap on my shoulder from God saying it's time to go. And so I have been on a search for the last 3 years, almost 4 years now, to find out what that meaning is. And I feel really blessed to be part of this book club and the team I'm on with Scotty, and just excited to learn more about becoming a high performer, because as a massage therapist, I was spoon-fed my business. And now I really have to go after it with more meaning and focus. So this is great. So excited to be here.
I love that. Thank you. All right, who's next? I think I heard another lady's voice that was trying to go.
Oh, it's just Rachel over here.
What's up,
Rachel?
Hey,
I got excited over page 42. It was a paragraph. Effectiveness in life does not come from focusing on what's automatic, easy, or natural for us, but rather the result of how we consciously strive to meet life's harder challenges and grow beyond our comforts. I thought that was just really key, and just a reminder to always stay out of your comfort zone no matter what. It's always easy just to kind of do what's natural, but that's not what this is about.
Yeah. And there's a lot, you'll hear a lot of going back to what Stephanie was saying, self-help books that are saying, just do it, have a positive mindset and everything's going to work out. But I love that these habits have to take place. Let me see, I got some background noise. On that same page, it was we all have these things that it has a list of all these excuses. I'm not the smartest person. I'm not normally gifted. I don't have enough experience. I'm a woman, Black man, Latino, middle-aged white guy, immigrant. That's why I'm not succeeding. My company culture doesn't support me. I'd be a lot better if they paid me for what I'm really worth, all of these things. And I love just the bluntness of what he shares as well. It's time we all recognize these reasons for what they are: lame excuses for suboptimal performance, especially over the long term. And I was like, that was kind of a smack to my face, because I catch myself sometimes even though I've been doing what I do for 12 years, where I'm like, well, if I was just more social, like I would have more of a community, or I'd have more of this, or if I was like so-and-so, I have a good friend that's 30 minutes away that has like built triple the business what I have. And I'm like, if I was just like had the ability like these women do to create like these close bonds and be really open with each other, I would have what they have. And I'm like, so when I read that, I was like, okay, that's a lame excuse for my suboptimal performance, for me getting distracted and not having clarity and working on the 6 habits that I need to work on. So I'm there with you guys. Okay, who else wants to go? Ricky?
Yeah. Thank you. The part that really stood out to me is when it says, what's high performance? And then the way I understood it is, well, high performance is the traditional measures of success plus enjoy life, be happy, have good relationships. And that's when I said, oh, I think I'm going to like this book. Yeah, because I always say, I work to live. I don't live to work. I love spending a good amount of time with my wife, my grandchildren, riding my bicycle and reading and doing fun things. So I think that's what life is about. And these 6 habits, man, I think I'm very interested. This is good. Thank you.
I love that. You just sharing that reminds me of something I heard when I first started. It's like, you could have all the success or accolades in the world, but if your family is not intact because of all of the hours that you spent away from them or sacrifices you made to hurt your health or anything, it's not worth it.
Can I add something? I always say that you can be rich and happy and rich and unhappy. You can be fit and happy and fit and unhappy. And I say, man, I want to be rich, fit, happy, everything. Why not, right?
I love it. I'm with you.
Yeah.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Ricky.
Yep.
I always love Ricky's energy.
Thank you, man. I appreciate you.
Who else wants to share?
Alrighty,
I
guys.
had something.
Person.
Go ahead, Amanda.
Okay, sorry.
Gio, you're next.
I can't find the page or pages, but I just remember reading where he was talking about that. I know somebody else kind of mentioned it, like if your normal personality isn't normally to be, extroverted, or maybe your whole upbringing, you've had a pessimistic outlook on life, he talked about how it's like you can change all those things by making a conscious choice to change, and then learning how to create that as a habit. And I've actually started doing a lot of that kind of work over the last several years. And so reading that was just kind of a confirmation, if you will, that I'm on the right track, that I've been making all this, even without having read this book. I kind of was already doing some of that work on my own. I used to be extremely introverted, very depressed. And now I think I'm one of the most optimistic, upbeat, positive people in my family and in my inner circle. And I do kind of feel like I'm pulling them with me or trying to. So reading that little section, and I can't find it in the book, but where he mentioned that it's, you can change those things about yourself if you don't like them. It just kind of reaffirmed that I've been on the right track and I'm doing something right, even if I didn't have this guidebook in front of me doing it. So that was really encouraging to me, and I'm excited to dive in and see how I can build upon what I've already been trying to change about my life and make it a life that I want to live. So I'm pretty excited.
Awesome. We're excited for you, Amanda. Thank you for sharing that.
Yeah.
Awesome. Gio.
All right. So first and foremost, Happy New Year to every single one of you guys. I hope you had an amazing time with your family, your loved ones, because it is the new year. That's why we have this going on, of course, to go ahead and set new goals, set new everything. One of the things that really stuck out to me, kind of 2 things. Piggyback to what you were saying earlier, Scotty, of the live, love, matter, just because of the fact that I think so many times all of us who are coaches are so drawn into the business and we want to do so well and we want to go ahead and perform to the best of our level. But at the same time, I think we kind of fall back to just focusing only on the business, and not really focusing on ourselves and what really matters to us. A lot of times we can go ahead and do so much. And to your point also, Scotty, is the fact that, of course, we don't want to lose the family time also at the same time, because if your family is not intact, the business definitely will suffer. And that's something that I've seen over and over, not just our business, but just business in general.
Uh-oh, did we lose him? It wasn't just me, right? He dropped. Okay, we'll let him come back and finish that. Looks like he dropped altogether.
He's back.
Oh, he's back. Gio.
Hello? Sorry, guys. So just to cut it short, it's what really matters to you, what really matters to your family, and then everything else kind of comes secondary. Like, we all have this business that we're very grateful, but it shouldn't just be your sole purpose. If you want to live to your maximum potential, if you want to live to where people matter, then what really matters to you specifically. And then at very least, at the very last, is just your legacy. What kind of legacy do you want to leave behind? And that's something that he did also talk about. It's, what do you want to be remembered? And you talked about this right now too, Scotty. Quite honestly, for the time that I've been here, people already know me as the fitness guy, but I don't want to be known as just a fitness guy. I also want to be known as somebody who has helped somebody in darker times with any of my videos that they probably have seen. I also want to be a very good friend to people who I meet. I want to make sure that one day when the time passes and God says, hey, it's time for you to come up here, I want people to say, wow, you know what? This guy was here no matter what, on any time, any given day. When I really needed him, he was there for me. So that's really something that has stood out to me. And overall, of course, that's something that I'm going to continue implementing, not just the business, but just in personal life.
I love that. Thank you. Who's next? Who's next?
I'll jump in for a second, if you don't mind. I appreciate the inclusion. If you go to page 42, this is where he's kind of talking about, that at every moment of your life, you have to sort of reevaluate, any big thing that comes up, whether it's a new job or new endeavor, a new project, a new relationship. It's in the first paragraph, it just said, every time you find yourself performing below your potential, bring the HP6 to bear. If you ever wonder why you're failing at something, just go take the HPI and identify which habits you're scoring low in. And it's this constant process. I think so many times we get to this point where we just feel like we should be at the end game. Like, I read that book or I listened to that podcast, like, I should be good now, or I got that job, I finished that project, I should be good now. And I think one thing that, I certainly get away from a lot myself, and a lot of the people that I work with, is it's this constant, self-assessment, a constant reevaluation. And just because, 2 years ago, I was really clear on what I wanted and what I needed, it doesn't mean that, that now 2 years later, I'm still in the same spot around clarity. If I am able to sort of, he says, stoke the fire is a term that he uses. If I'm constantly stoking the fire, and I'm constantly really evaluating, my energy level, or again, my clarity or my courage, some of these different things, that's hopefully what will continue to sort of create that high performance, caliber person. And I kind of like that, the idea of you're never there. Even after we finish this book, it's not like, okay, we're all good. Like, we can put that away and we've all made it, I think that was a big takeaway for me.
Yeah, I love that. When I took that assessment, I can't remember the link, high performance, you guys should have, it's in the book, but when I took it, I went back through my emails and I found when I first took it, because I went to Brendan's high performance habits, like, live seminar back in probably 2013. And so I took it, I think, back then. And so I scored lower in some of them than I did back then. So it kind of goes back to what Ryan's saying, like habits slip, like things, you fall out of habits, and life is a constant roller coaster of up and down and realigning. And so once we do finish this book, this is something that it's a constant work till the end, even when you're done, retired, like, and you have your, your everyday life, and you have to figure out what you're going to do now that you don't have, let's say you're clocking into a job, you're still going to have some sort of habits to go through your day, like have a purpose that gets you up and moving and serving and being there for other people. So this is a lifelong journey. So I'm excited that we're all working on getting these, getting realigned. Awesome. Who else wants to share?
Can I go?
I can. Oh, sorry.
Yes, Sarah.
Go ahead.
Okay. Hi. So I'm really new to the team, and I'm really enjoying the book club. So on page 45, the bit that really stood out for me was the rising tide lifts all boats and one habit lifts all others. And especially the bit about by generating energy, you'll be better rested, you'll eat healthier, you'll exercise more, and so on. And we know that, like, these, if you exercise, people are more likely to eat healthier, and you're going to want to go to bed so you can get up the next day. And I just love that Brendan is saying the same thing as me, or I'm saying the same thing as he is.
Yeah, I love that. Thank you. Yeah, on that one, I love that the emphasis on happiness too, not just high performance, but on your overall happiness level. Have you guys seen that in your life where you've started implementing one habit and then you start develop another habit that is also happy, like that is also a good habit? I've definitely seen it.
I'm feeling that way is when I'm performing my best and when I'm getting the goals that I've set out to achieve for myself personally happen when I'm in that high vibration for myself. So yes, it's awesome.
Love it. Who else wants to share?
I'd love to give a little insight. So I've been listening on the audio book, so I have no idea what page I'm on. So I might have passed page 50, I'm not sure. So hopefully I don't ruin anything. But I really liked when he said the time to have the map is before you enter the woods. That really resonated with me because I feel like I'm about to enter the woods because my husband's getting out of the military and we have a lot of unknown stuff happening. And I need to go from being a stay-at-home parent to like having an income. And so like, I know I need to do this. And I've just gone, sorry, I'm so emotional lately. So you're gonna hear me cry. But I've gone through like a really depressing time, just not because of circumstances, but just like seasonal depression and just feeling really down. So this book was really good for me to start listening to. I really like the personal habit of generating energy. And I feel like that's something I need to focus on, is just creating that energy and that momentum. And as I do that, as we talked about, it'll continue to affect the others. And I know like when I just start like get up, do the dishes, then it affects me cleaning other stuff. And then I want to work out, so like just generating that energy, I think is going to be my main focus to help me get back into things.
I love that. Thank you for sharing, Shandy. All of the chat like blew up love for you, just so you go back and check that out. Yeah, just get moving. I'm like Shandy. I've read it, but also during my workouts, I've been listening to it on YouTube. So there's some things that I got far ahead on as well. Who else wants to share?
I would share something.
Yes, Michelle.
It's interesting because on the very first page, he's talking to the lady Lynn, and she says, or yeah, so she says, I'm scared to go to the next level because I'm barely surviving this one. And I could relate to that at so many different times in my life. I don't feel like that right now, but I did underline that because I feel like whenever I start to get momentum in life or getting close to reaching my goals, then I slow myself down because I'm afraid that, you know, that I might not do a good job at that next level. So getting myself more into habits, I think is going to be really helpful for that. I also underlined that section that one of the ladies read earlier about effectiveness does not come from focusing on what's automatic and natural for us. Your natural birth strengths will not be enough. You will be required to develop well beyond what is easy and natural to you. So I'm just going to really dive into that and just say, this is growth. My word of the year is also growth. And so I'm excited to give myself a little grace and realize that this isn't something that we're all born with, and it is something that can be learned.
Yes. Thank you.
Michelle, I want to tell you that I just saw, it's not part of this book, but I just saw a little blurb by Brene Brown on like my YouTube sidebar, and it was a shorts. And she says, one of the biggest emotions we fear is joy, because we're so afraid of what's going to happen and take it away. So we're afraid to live presently in the joy. So I'll maybe look that up, because you sounded just like what she was talking about.
Awesome. Who else?
I can share something. Oh, you can go. Page 14, certainty is the enemy of growth and high performance. And I don't know if anyone has watched Jurassic World, but I am a, but how many teeth kind of person. That's me. I like to know the facts. I like to know the details. Well, how many hours is this going to take? How much money is it going to be to the dollar amount? I've been in finance since I was 18. So I'm numbers and data driven. So it's hard for me to jump into anything without knowing exactly what's going to catch me underneath, or how things are going to pan out in the next, short term or long term. So when he talks about that, and certainty is the enemy and it's the fool's dream, and we need to replace that certainty with curiosity and genuine self-confidence, it was just like slap across the face. That is so me. So that's my takeaway for these first 50 pages, is just getting rid of that certainty and just being more self-confidence and curious about life.
Awesome. Thank you. Anybody else on numbers, data driven? Like you need to know all the details? I'm personally not, but I'm curious how many here might be like that. My wife is very much like that. That's where we drive each other crazy. I'm like, just send it. We'll figure it out. And she's like, well, what about this? And I'm like, oh, that stresses me out. So I'm very much on the opposite spectrum, but I know from working through a lot of things with my wife on businesses and rentals and raising kids. So thank you.
Scotty?
Ricky.
Okay, so in the part that says that a rising tide lifts all boats, I like to share that I quit drinking alcohol like almost 5 years ago. January 20 is going to be 5 years. And that one habit, thank you guys, thank you so much. That one habit, it was the trigger for many other things. All of a sudden, pizza and hamburgers didn't look as appealing, and salads didn't look bad. And then I had more energy, and then that triggered a better eating habit. And then I got back into Shakeology, and then I started working out. And man, even the presents I received for Christmas totally changed, because everybody used to give me bottles of wine. and now I get books, I got a telescope, I got all sorts of fun things. So one habit really does change everything.
Awesome. Thank you for sharing that. Ricky, one of your friends was saying, thanks for inviting. So just so you guys know, Ricky's one of my clients. He's not a coach with our team. He runs his own business and leads a team. And so we're grateful you're here. And I love that you shared that about quitting alcohol and how that changing that one habit shifted so many different things. Anybody else want to share? While you're thinking about it, you made me think about, like I've shared, I went through the High Performance Academy before. I was at the live event. I went through, like he sets up, Brendan has these online courses. So I went through that. Like, so I've done all these things, but just listening to that, it reminded me of how easy, and I mentioned this before, it is to slip out of good habits. I found myself probably 5 or 6 months ago, maybe less than that, maybe like 3 or 4 months ago. And I was like, just getting irritated. You're going to think I'm some irritated, impatient man now after all of the sharing today. But I was just like getting irritated with a lot of things. Like I had some cancellations for like an outing that we're going to do. And like my reaction was like, what the, come on. Like, how can you back out of something like this? Like, don't you know the pressure that puts on me? Like it was all like just feeling irritated. And it was with a lot of things. And then I was like, I had to take a step back and look, and I was like, why am I reacting or feeling like this? And what I discovered after asking myself these types of questions over the course of a week or two, and I was looking at what I was, and this is before we did this book, I was looking at what is everything that I'm doing in a day versus what was everything I was doing in a day when I didn't have reactions like that. And it turned out that part of my habits was when I would eat, I would usually like put on some soft music like it was on here before, or I would have a book and I would be reading the book while I ate my salad or ate my meal plan. And guess what I was doing? And I thought it was good because I was doing it for my business. I was scrolling TikTok and Instagram looking for ideas for reels that I could do for my business. And so that one habit was the thing that kind of kicked me off course, because it filled my mind with a whole bunch of things that were not good, not aligning with what I wanted to accomplish and do. And so I went back to being really intentional about using any spare time that I had, and not just eating. When I would plop down on the couch after the kids were done with their homework and they'd head off, what would I do? I'm looking for inspiration for reels, right? And so I started putting my book. It started not with this book, but I started with a book by Brendan Burchard as well called The Charge. And I put that book in every place that I normally go in the house. So like it's on the table throughout the day when I might be eating my breakfast, lunch, and midday. Like I eat around 3 as well. I left it on the dinner table, my book, so that when I went there, I read my book. And then after that time, I put it on the couch where I sit in the evenings when I hang out with the family, or when when everybody starts coming home, so that when I sat on the couch, I wouldn't pull out my phone. I would pick up my book and read. And just changing that one habit changed how my attitude was throughout that. I was being less irritated with, like, the same things were happening. The same things happened that always happened, but I was just now not getting irritated by them. And it was just changing that one simple habit of not distracting myself with social media and letting all of this outside influence come into my brain. And I was being intentional about what was going into my brain, which was reading a book. Anytime that I don't have something to do, read a book, not scroll. And that made a huge difference for me. And we could say like that caused like Brendan says, causes other habits to happen, which inspired this book club, like taking action on a book club. Like if I'm feeling this, I need to help other people be more intentional about this. So like one habit led to another good thing, other good things happening. Ricky, I see you doing this. Are you scrolling in your spare time too? Okay. Anybody else want to share? And by the way, we are going to end this at the hour just because I want to respect everybody's time. Just if you're wondering, like, how long is this going to go? And if we run out of ideas, we can always just end and pick up next week too. I'm reading.
One more thing that really stood out to me was when he said, ego must take a backseat to service to others. That like really hit me because I think a lot of us, you know, struggle with like our own ego and making up stories in our head about, well, if I do this, then this will happen. Or if I do this, somebody will think this or say that, you know. And I think it's really important to remember that if we are going to be successful as coaches, we have to like shut that ego voice off and make sure that we are focused on, you know, that purposeful service to others. And that's something that I'm really going to focus on and make my purpose for doing coaching is service, not being afraid of, you know, those crazy stories that are going through my head a lot, i.e. ego.
Yeah, thank you for sharing that. I don't remember if it was in this chapter, but I know Brendan talks about it. You know, we all have fears, whatever it is that might be going after, like we have fears or things that are holding us back. We'll just call them fears. But those fears are based on like how we are feeling. Am I going to be rejected? Are they going to say this? Are they going to say that? Will they think this about, it's all about us. But if you take that kind of like what Cynthia's saying, take the focus off of yourself, what it's going to do for you and what can you do for somebody else, those fears will kind of, I don't want to say they'll go away, but it'll be easier to face them when you're doing something in the service of somebody else. Like how many times have you seen somebody like step up in life to help somebody else? Like someone has no time, like I'm so busy, I have no time, but then a parent gets sick or is in the hospital or a child is, and you have all the time in the world to be there with them, right? You make time when it's easier to face something or do something outside the norm when you're in the service of somebody else. Who else wants to share? Gabby's working out now. The Latino music is downstairs, so I know she's on that bike.
Can I say a story that's not really related to the book?
That's fine. We love to hear everybody's life experiences.
Well, thank you. It's like I ordered a bag of Shakeology and it never came. It wasn't delivered. So I said, man, that's weird. So this morning I was talking to my wife and I told her, honey, I ordered Shakeology and the website here says that delivered, but it wasn't delivered. I never got it. And she said, honey, the cleaning lady was here yesterday. Maybe she thought it was recycled. It's like, oh my gosh. And they pick up recycle on Monday. So, oh my gosh, that's gone. But she said, I received an email saying that this week only, recycle is going to be on Tuesday, not Monday. So here is my bag.
You have me scared that your money well invested got thrown into the recycling bin.
I know, man, this isn't cheap. So I'm so glad I recouped it.
That's awesome. I have a quick story. Man, I don't think any of my new coaches know this story because I haven't talked about it for like 6 years or so. But just thinking about piggybacking off what Cynthia was sharing about being in service of other people and making that the focus so she can get over some of the ego things that she was mentioning. I was thinking about a time, I'm an archery hunter, and I used to hunt by myself up near my cabin, and there's a lot of grizzly bears. And I ran into my first grizzly bear on my own. I was by myself, and I ran into like it's probably 700-800 pound grizzly bear, a massive grizzly bear. And I have bear spray, I have a sidearm protection. And I'm sitting there, and it starts coming towards, it doesn't see me because I was doing a call, and it was coming in thinking it was an animal that it could hunt. And I'm sitting there and I realize it's a grizzly bear, and it's walking down the trail right towards me. Like They're massive. I was sitting on the ground too, so it looked even bigger. And but when it got to about 30 yards from me, I had to make a decision. Because they're like in 30 yards, if it decided to sprint, it would be on me in a second. So I stand up and I just start talking to it. I put my hands in the air and I'm like, hey, hey, hey. And luckily it turned and started just it kind of did this little shrug, and it turned and it just started walking. It didn't feel threatened, luckily. I go the opposite way, 2 miles to the highway. My truck was like 300 yards in the direction that it walked, but I walked 2 miles the other way, full speed towards the highway, and I hitchhiked back to my car. Like, I was scared out of my mind. Okay. So I made this decision, like, okay, I'm not hunting alone anymore. I could have died. And I bought another sidearm that was bigger. And so since then I haven't hunted by myself, but 2 days later, I go back out with my best friend and my dad. And we're sitting there, we're all about 100 yards apart in the same area. And guess who shows up? The grizzly bear. I don't see it, but I hear my friend yelling, like screaming, get out of here, get out of here. And so the next thing I know, he's over here, my dad's over here. I can see my dad sprinting and I'm sprinting straight towards the bear, like straight towards where the yelling's coming from. And, he's yelling, we start yelling, and we're just running towards it, and it runs off. And so I pose a question. Why do you think in one of those moments I went completely in the opposite direction for 2 miles in hitchhike, and in another moment we were running straight at the danger? Who might know why that would be?
You took the focus off yourself and put it on the service on someone else.
Yeah, it was doing it for somebody else, protecting somebody else. You would never see me by myself out there running straight as a grizzly bear. I'm scared out of my mind. But in that moment, whether it would have been my dad or him, like, someone was in danger and we were going in service of another person. And so I used to tell that story all the time. I haven't told it for like 5 or 6 years, but thinking about that, there was really 3 reasons. The one that Laura shared, there was a reason or a why. We were in service. We were trying to protect somebody else, help somebody else, serve somebody else. The second thing is we were more prepared. There was 3 of us versus 1. I purchased a larger firearm that I knew could do the job if I needed to protect my life or his life. And then the third one, well, I kind of mentioned it, but there was a team. I wasn't going at it alone. My friend was there, my dad was there, and I was there. I wasn't going at that scary moment or that trial alone. So I want you guys to think about that. That's what I really love about this book club is we're going through life. When you share stories here, feel free to share stories from your life, what you're going through, like Shandy did, because you have other people here to go through it with you. You have a team, and that's one thing. And then number 2, if you're thinking about fears that might be holding you back from stepping up for whatever that might be in your life for your family, is really figure out and get clarity. And he talks about clarity in here. Get clarity on why it's important, and know that you have that team. And then the tools, like being prepared. That's what we're doing. That's what the book's for. We're preparing ourselves. We're equipping ourselves. And I think it says right here, don't say who high performers are. Tell me what they do at a granular level across projects that can be replicated. That level of detail, that's the goal. So the tools, in my little grizzly story for you guys for this is don't just read the book and show up. Start implementing these habits into your life with us. Okay. Anybody else want to share a last takeaway? 5 minutes. And if you're scared or nervous and don't like speaking in public, this is your chance. We're going to call you to step up and face that fear.
Okay, I have one comment.
EJ, what's up?
I always find it funny, like the perception we have of ourselves. is usually never really as bad as the people closest to us, like how we're perceived by them. We're so hard on ourselves. Because I was thinking, as you was talking before about talking about your business and somebody close by, and if I was more like this and if I was more like that. And I keep thinking about, you know, as I'm looking around, you know, for coaches and all these things, it was you being who you were at those moments that I was like, he gets it. You know, I mean, when I first saw years ago things on your team page and your shirts were family over everything. And it wasn't like the shiny things. It wasn't the glitz. It was like the things that really matter close to home and the family. And it was just because you're who you are. I think that's what makes you so different and so relatable. And I think we're so hard on ourselves that we forget some of the pieces that we think we need to change or we could be to be wherever. Like I used to have a friend who used to say, no matter how hard it is, you're exactly where you're supposed to be. And, you know, I just think we're so hard on ourselves when I think sometimes where we are is the beauty of who we are.
Yeah. I love that. Thank you. I had a discussion with something about that, just so you guys can know me a little more. I'm 41. Okay. And I've had the honor of speaking in front of like stadiums with 25,000 people, which I'd never imagined in the beginning of doing this. It was never a goal of mine. And I had this talk with my wife the other day. I was like, it was like a realization. Like I wouldn't say intimidated, but like I go to a local gym and I take my one kid at a time from time to time, and we just do fun, like push sleds and do stuff like that in the back that's hard. And like I found like I was like imitated just by other people for some reason. And I was like, why am I like, I'm like 41 years old. Why am I like shy to say hi to someone or talk to someone? I'm like, this is so weird. And I was like, and it was just like, just having that realization, like, oh, I'm like this. Why am I like this? This is weird that I'm like that. I made an intention to be like, once a day, whenever I'm there, I'm going to just say hi to one person and I'm going to get to know their name. And it was like, it just like helped me break through. I don't know what it was. And we were discussing more. This is personal. Nobody knows this here. I've never shared this on social media with anybody. My kids don't know, even just my wife, but we kind of really discovered where that came from. And it's mostly men. Like I can talk to women very easily. And we kind of discovered, I've never been to therapy or anything, by the way. I just talk with church leaders and with my spouse. And when I was younger, like 4, a man tried to kidnap my cousin who was babysitting me. She was a teenager, and myself, and exposed his privates. And I was talking with my wife and I was like, you know, that's probably why, like when I see men, I don't talk to them. And I'm like, I'm a 41-year-old man, but I feel like a kid at heart. And I was like, oh, that's interesting. I've never shared that. And I don't know why I shared that, but it's like, it's interesting how we all have these things that we can learn through, we can grow through, we can overcome. And it's like, just kind of like realizing that, talking about that, and then just like starting to make a new friend every day, or not a new friend, but just introduce, like saying hi. I'm like, oh, this isn't so weird anymore. You guys are probably like, what? I could never imagine that you're like, you intimidated to talk to other people. So that's a little about me. Laura says she could be my mother. Anyhow, we're at the hour, so we're going to close this out. I don't have you guys all have the assignment. Does someone have it somewhere quick for next week? I can pull it up from our team page real quick. And
Can I share a quick quote just as we close?
Absolutely.
I feel like it's kind of perfect. In what everyone's expressed already and shared some details about themselves. This quote was in the book and I don't remember where it was, but it says, "The journey to greatness begins the moment our preferences for comfort and certainty are overruled by a greater purpose that requires challenge and contribution." And I feel like a lot of people really spoke out about that today, and ending your quick tidbit on your experience that you shared. So thank you for everyone's contribution and stepping out of that comfort zone.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for sharing that too. Okay, we'll end this out. I put the week 2 assignment up pages 51 through 125. So there's more reading this week. So we had 51 pages, I think, before. Now we're going to have 74 for the next week. So you got 7 days. So do the math, a little more than 10 pages a day, and you'll be all prepared for next week. But more importantly, share what you learned. Yes. Who is this?
A quick question. I'm sorry. It's Amanda. I don't know if I have a different book like print than the outline is, because the pages are all ending in the middle of chapters for me.
I think the way I did it, let's see, how did this one, I kind of went through and tried to end it at a chapter, but not necessarily at a chapter. So for like this one, so the start of the next one should start at section 1, seek clarity. That would be the start of the next section. And then let's see where it ends. I know some of them had super long chapters, so I just tried to end on, like, if it was a chapter that had like, here's these 3 points, it might be not the whole chapter. It might be the chapter plus this first point. Does your next one start at just, here, on this out real quick, and then